do you want?
I want to stay here.
You can't stay here.
Yeah, but you're staying here.
I'm conducting.
Oh, you mean if you conduct, you can stay here?
That's right. Get out.
All right, I want to conduct.
You can't conduct.
Dean Martin final interview left his family in tears. Dean Martin, the legendary crooner and Hollywood icon, is remembered for his smooth voice, effortless charm, and the laughter he brought to millions. From classic hits like Everybody Loves Somebody to unforgettable performances alongside Frank Sinatra and Jerry Lewis, Dean's career spanned decades, making him a symbol of timeless elegance and cool. Fans adored his relaxed, carefree persona, imagining a life filled with glitz, glamour, and endless applause. Yet behind the smiles, the perfectly timed jokes, and the stage lights, there was a man of deep feeling. A man whose private life carried complexities that the public rarely glimpsed in what would become his final interview. Dean Martin revealed sides of himself that no one had truly seen before. For the first time, he spoke candidly about regrets, personal struggles, and the love he held for his family, revealing emotions that had long been hidden behind his iconic persona. Those words, delivered with the same calm and charm that had endeared him to audiences for decades, struck a chord not just with fans but most profoundly with his loved ones. The interview left his family in tears, exposing vulnerabilities and heartfelt confessions that added depth to the legend of Dean Martin. It was a moment that redefined how the world would remember him, not only as an entertainer who brought joy to countless people, but as a father, husband, and human being navigating a life filled with both triumph and quiet sorrow. In this story, we uncover what Dean Martin shared, the emotions it stirred, and why his final words remain unforgettable. Dean Martin, born Dino Paul Crocetti in 1917 in Steubenville, Ohio, came from humble beginnings. Raised in a working-class Italian-American family, Dean experienced a childhood that was far from glamorous. His early life was shaped by hardship, the struggles of his family, and the discipline required to navigate a world with limited opportunities. Despite the challenges, he discovered a love for music and performance at a young age, singing at local events and honing a voice that would one day captivate millions. Those early experiences instilled in him not only a work ethic, but also a resilience that would define his career in the years to come. Dean's rise to fame was gradual but remarkable. Starting in the 1940s, he performed in small clubs and bars, often teaming up with singer Jerry Lewis. The duo's chemistry was electric, and their act quickly drew attention for its humor, charm, and raw talent. Audiences loved the combination of Dean's smooth, effortless singing and Jerry's comedic antics. Their performances were a masterclass in entertainment, blending music, timing, and charisma in a way that few could replicate. By the early 1950s, Martin and Lewis had become household names, and their success laid the foundation for Dean's solo career. After parting ways with Jerry Lewis, Dean Martin's solo career took off even further. His signature laid-back style, combined with an undeniable charm, made him a favorite in both music and film. Hits like That's Amore and Memories Are Made of This showcased his warm, velvety voice, while appearances in movies and television solidified his status as an entertainment icon. Fans admired not only his talent but also the ease with which he carried himself. He had a rare ability to make even complex performances seem effortless, a skill that drew admiration and inspired aspiring performers across the country. Despite his public persona of carefree charm, Dean's life behind the scenes was far more complex. The pressures of fame, the demands of performance schedules, and the balancing act between personal and professional obligations created challenges that few could see. His career required constant attention to detail, long hours of rehearsal, and the emotional labor of maintaining a public image that fans loved. Yet Dean handled it all with a combination of poise, humor, and discipline, masking the struggles that existed behind the curtain. Dean Martin's family played a pivotal role throughout his rise to stardom. While the public only saw the charming entertainer, his family witnessed the man beneath the legend, the quiet, caring, and sometimes vulnerable side that rarely appeared on stage. He juggled the responsibilities of fatherhood, marriage, and professional ambition with skill. Yet the pressures inevitably left emotional marks that would linger throughout his life. The experiences of his early years, coupled with the demands of fame, shaped Dean Martin into a performer beloved worldwide, but also a man with unspoken fears, regrets, and profound emotions that only those closest to him truly understood. By the time of his final interview, Dean Martin was not only reflecting on decades of unparalleled success, but also confronting the private struggles that had accompanied his rise. This interview would reveal the deeper layers of his character, his regrets, his love for his family, and the personal truths he had kept hidden for so long. It became a rare glimpse into the life of a man whose public image had dazzled millions, yet whose private heart had endured its own complex symphony of challenges, joys, and profound emotions. While Dean Martin's public image radiated charm, humor, and effortless cool, those closest to him knew a very different side of the man. Beneath the sunglasses, bow ties, and smooth crooning was someone deeply devoted to his family, but also someone who carried the weight of private struggles and unspoken emotions. For decades, the public saw him as carefree, witty, and untouchable. But Dean's personal life was far more nuanced and, at times, painfully complex. Dean had always been a perfectionist behind the scenes. While he could joke, laugh, and sing with apparent ease on stage, the demands of maintaining that persona were significant. Endless tours, recording sessions, and film shoots left little time for rest, reflection, or privacy. Balancing a thriving career with marriage, fatherhood, and personal obligations often took an emotional toll. Those who knew him intimately describe a man who would quietly absorb stress and shield his loved ones from the pressures he faced, refusing to let the burdens of fame overshadow the people who mattered most. Relationships played a central role in Dean's life, though they were rarely discussed publicly. He loved his family fiercely and often prioritized their needs over his own desires. However, this devotion sometimes came at the cost of his personal happiness. He quietly struggled with regrets, missed milestones, postponed conversations, and opportunities lost to the relentless pace of his career. These were not dramatic or scandalous revelations, but they carried profound emotional weight, particularly as he aged and reflected on the life he had led. Dean's final interview, recorded when he was well into his 70s, became a rare and intimate window into these private struggles. For the first time, he spoke candidly about the tensions he had navigated between his public image and private reality. He reflected on the pressures of performing, the challenges of maintaining personal relationships, and the love he held for his family that had always been his anchor. His words were heartfelt, tinged with melancholy, yet carried the gentle humor and warmth that had defined him. Throughout his career, the impact of this interview on his family was immediate and profound. Those who had spent decades beside him witnessing both his triumphs and his quiet sacrifices were moved to tears. Dean's reflections illuminated not only the breadth of his achievements, but also the depth of his humanity. It was a reminder that behind every iconic performer is a person navigating emotions, relationships, and responsibilities that the public rarely sees. Fans, too, were affected by the revelations. Dean Martin had always been admired for his talent, style, and charisma, but the final interview added a layer of emotional resonance that made his legacy even more compelling. People realized that the man who could command stages and make audiences swoon had also carried private struggles with grace, courage, and an enduring sense of love for those around him. In the end, this section of Dean Martin's story highlights a universal truth. The image we present to the world often conceals the complexities of our inner lives. Dean's ability to maintain his charm, professionalism, and artistry while navigating deeply personal challenges is a testament to his character, resilience, and devotion. The final interview captured the essence of a man who, despite decades of fame, remained profoundly human, capable of love, regret, humor, and reflection, leaving a legacy that continues to touch hearts around the world. In his final interview, Dean Martin offered more than just a look back at a legendary career. He shared candid reflections that revealed the man behind the music. While audiences had long admired his effortless charm and signature croon, the interview unveiled a depth of emotion rarely associated with the suave entertainer. Dean spoke about the joys of his career, the thrill of performing on stage, and the fulfillment of sharing music with millions, but he also confronted the regrets and personal struggles that had accompanied a life lived in the spotlight. One of the most striking elements of the interview was Dean's discussion of missed opportunities and personal sacrifices. Fame, he admitted, came with a cost. Long tours meant time away from loved ones, hectic filming schedules limited family interactions, and the demands of constant public appearances often forced him to put personal needs figure as rarely as effortless as it seems. Dean also reflected on his relationships with family and close friends. He spoke with heartfelt sincerity about the love he felt for his children, his wife, and those who supported him through thick and thin. These personal revelations, shared with remarkable honesty, highlighted the emotional intelligence and sensitivity that lay beneath his charming exterior. His family, upon hearing these confessions, were moved to tears not because of scandal or controversy, but because they finally witnessed the vulnerability and depth of a man they had always loved. In addition to regrets, Dean candidly discussed the pressures of fame. Maintaining a public persona that balanced charisma, humor, and sophistication required constant effort. Behind the curtain, Dean grappled with stress, doubt, and the challenge of living up to expectations, both his own and those of the millions who adored him. His interview offered insight into the emotional labor required to sustain a career in entertainment, revealing that even the most confident and celebrated performers carry private burdens. Another revealing aspect of the interview was Dean's discussion of his values and priorities. He emphasized the importance of love, family, and personal fulfillment over professional accolades alone. While his career achievements were extraordinary, it became clear that what mattered most to him were the relationships and connections that had anchored him throughout his life. His reflections served as both a personal catharsis and a message to fans that the human experience extends far beyond fame, applause, and success. Ultimately, Dean Martin's final interview left a lasting impression because it revealed the humanity behind a legend. It was not simply a retrospective of an illustrious career, but a deeply moving account of a man balancing triumph with vulnerability, public adoration with private longing, and professional success with personal reflection. The tears it inspired in his family were a testament to the love, authenticity, and courage of a man whose life had been extraordinary not only for what he achieved, but for how he loved, sacrificed, and remained true to himself in the face of fame and expectation. Dean Martin's final interview was more than a reflection on a storied career. It was a window into the legacy he wanted to leave behind. For decades, fans had admired him for his smooth vocals, impeccable timing, and effortless charm. Yet this interview revealed a deeper layer. A man whose love for family, devotion to relationships, and thoughtful reflections on life carried as much weight as his public achievements. The tears his family shed were not just for the end of an era, but for the chance to finally hear the authentic Dean Martin they had long known existed behind the stage persona. The conversation showcased the lessons he had learned over a lifetime. Dean emphasized the importance of love, patience, and understanding, explaining that while fame and success were gratifying, the true measure of a life well lived lay in the bonds we nurture with others. He spoke openly about mistakes, missed opportunities, and moments of doubt, demonstrating that vulnerability does not diminish greatness, it humanizes it. For his family, these words were a gift, validating the sacrifices they had shared and the love that had quietly endured through the highs and lows of his extraordinary career. Fans, too, gained a newfound appreciation for the man behind the legend. Dean's reflections illuminated the challenges of balancing personal and professional life, the complexities of maintaining a public image, and the quiet strength required to keep loved ones at the center of one's life despite the pressures of fame. While audiences had long admired his performances, the interview revealed a depth of character and emotional intelligence that added layers to his legacy, making it richer and more relatable than ever before. Dean Martin's final words also highlighted the timeless nature of his influence. Beyond his music and films, he imparted wisdom about resilience, compassion, and authenticity. By sharing his experiences with honesty and grace, he left a roadmap for others navigating the intersection of public success and private fulfillment. It was a reminder that even those who seem larger than life must confront universal human emotions, and that doing so with honesty can inspire those who look up to us most. Ultimately, the final interview solidified Dean Martin's place not only as an entertainment icon, but also as a devoted father, husband, and human being whose life embodied both charm and depth. The tears it evoked in his family reflected the profound impact of hearing his truth at last, while fans gained a rare glimpse of the man who had given the world so much joy, laughter, and music. Dean Martin's legacy, enriched by these revelations, is one of enduring talent, heartfelt emotion, and the courage to live authentically even under the relentless gaze of fame. It is a legacy that continues to touch hearts, ensuring that the legend of Dean Martin is remembered not only for the magic he created on stage, but for the humanity he carried throughout his life.